How the Grinch Stole Christmas is the best Christmas movie ever made. That is what the original title of this video was going to be. But after sitting down with Mi Familia and really soaking in the Christmas cheer, I realized that How the Grinch Stole Christmas is not the best, because the best actually is The Polar Express. Okay, let me ask you this. What makes a Christmas movie a good Christmas movie? I mean, really, it all comes down to what you think, because this question is subjective. There are many answers that can answer this question. Some might say it's about how a movie brings people together. So, if that's the answer to what makes a great Christmas movie, then you could say movies like Elf, Home Alone, A Christmas Story, and even How the Grinch Stole Christmas are the best type of movies, which initially, that's the thought I had. But if you have been around the channel for a while, then you know that's not what I love about movies. Cinema to me is leaving the theater or the couch and still thinking about the film you just watched, piecing together on if Jackie Brown really went to Spain or not, or even trying to solve the mental puzzle on if Batman really sacrificed himself to save Gotham or if he jumped out at the last minute. This is why I love films. How a great movie makes you feel is what I think cinema encapsulates, which is why I believe The Polar Express is the best Christmas movie, because it accomplishes everything I love about film. To some, the animation is creepy, but I think the animation and the art style really do a good job at giving us that cozy, warm Christmas feeling. It's able to still hold up to this very day. A lot of people will say that the plot and the movie as a whole is really boring, but look, I think they're missing the point. The point of The Polar Express is to show the true spirit of Christmas. How oftentimes, as we get older, we get new responsibilities, our childhood starts to slip away just a little bit more each time as life goes on. Our Christmas spirit diminishes. It's best represented by three characters. They don't have names, so these are the names I'm going to give them. Tommy is the character that we follow throughout the movie, and he represents the disbeliever, the doubter, or maybe not 100% doubter, but a skeptic. He often shows us the struggles of understanding that seeing is not always believing. Billy represents disbelief, but faith that the Christmas spirit is real. Sarah is the full-fledged believer, having the faith to believe even though she can't see it. I think each character represents the three main traits that we could see during the holidays, but I think the best character development is shown through Tommy. He himself has two personages that represent Tommy's split beliefs. First is the train conductor, who has a sort of respect for Santa and doesn't ever have to question his beliefs about the spirit of Christmas. The hobo is the other side of the coin. There was rumored to be a whole deleted scene that included the backstory about the hobo. Just thought I should mention that because it is apparent that he's actually dead in the movie. When Tommy first meets the hobo, he's on top of the train. It's at this point that Tommy believes he's dreaming about this whole train experience. I think that it's at this point when he meets the hobo that he's leaning more towards the seeing is believing, or at least hearing and listening to that side of the argument. Tommy's character arc is the best throughout the entire movie. I mean, he's the only character that really has one. I think this movie does a really good job at showing us that he's skeptical instead of just telling us that he is. Besides that first part when he meets the conductor, but even then, the very beginning, the conductor gives us a list of non-believer things that Tommy has been doing. No photo with a department store Santa, no letter to Santa, and he made his sister put out the milk and cookies. And this is where his other half, who is represented as the train conductor, pitches in his argument. Well, not really an argument, but more of a threat.
Sounds to me like this is your crucial year. If I were you, I would think about climbing on board.
It's in this scene that we see what the whole movie could be summed up to. As the train starts moving, we can see that Tommy wants to believe that this magic train is going to the North Pole, so he jumps on last minute. And it's also here that we get that iconic Polar Express melody. To this day, the music is still able to give me goosebumps. From the time the conductor says, "Suit yourself," to the moment that we get to this little devil, a whole 1 minute and 45 seconds passes by with no dialogue. I think this whole 1 minute and 45 seconds really capture the magic of the Polar Express. The next example comes almost immediately after Tommy gets on the train. The other passengers, including Tommy, see a store called Purplesheimer's. This store seems to radiate Christmas, advertising presents and holiday decorations. Even here, we can see that Tommy has the wrong idea about Christmas. The geek says that he wants all the presents being advertised. This directly correlates to the end of the movie when the geek gets his ticket back and it says learn. With Sarah, she says that it looks so cozy and beautiful because she understands that Christmas isn't about presents or if Santa is real or not. She fully understands what Christmas is truly about. Unlike Tommy, who can only seem to focus on the Santa animatronic. This gives us great insight into where Tommy is at fault. All he can think about is the logistics of Christmas, and not what Christmas is really about. We also get this in How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Cindy Lou Who, but with Cindy Lou Who, it's more of a question as to what Christmas is really about, and not a battle between the spirit of Christmas and just straight up refusing to believe that Christmas is even a thing. As the movie progresses, we eventually get to the point that I mentioned earlier. Tommy meets the hobo, and in a pretty comedic release of tension, Tommy asks him this.
Is this something I can do for you?
I'm looking for a girl.
Hey, we all!
This little tidbit of the hobo delivering this joke gets overlooked in my opinion. From this joke, we can already tell a lot about his character, even though he hasn't said 3 lines of dialogue. I love how the hobo has this sequence where he tells Tommy that he doesn't need a ticket to ride the Pole X, that he can come and go on the train whenever he feels like it, that he is the king of the North Pole. Then we get in what I believe to be the best part of the movie, and perfectly describes Tommy on why he struggles with his beliefs, and more importantly, what he struggles with. Tommy and the hobo exchange a few words with each other about Santa and the metaphoric spirit of Christmas. Tommy says that he wants to believe, but then the hobo finishes his explanation that he wants to believe, but he doesn't want to be bamboozled, conned, duped. The hobo directly states to Tommy that seeing is believing. This is where things in the movie start to get really interesting. We can see Tommy and the hobo going back and forth about the train. Tommy asks this question to the hobo.
We're all really going to the North Pole, aren't we?
Aren't we?
Are you saying that this is all just a dream?
You said it, kid, not me.
I absolutely love this whole sequence because the hobo is out of place on the train. The Polar Express is a metaphor for the spirit of Christmas, and the hobo represents how Tommy feels about himself during Christmas. The hobo feels out of place on the train because Tommy feels out of place on the spirit of Christmas. Another thing that I want to point out during this sequence, because Tommy is unsure about the existence of Santa, the hobo asks him if he believes in ghosts, to which Tommy responds with a sure no, which the hobo finds interesting because the hobo himself is a ghost. The movie's conclusion is absolutely masterful. Towards the end of the movie, Sarah says this.
You hear that? The bell. What bell? The sleigh bell. Sleigh bell? Did you hear it?
And eventually, Billy also hears the bells. The bells are a great test to tell if someone believes in the spirit of Christmas. Sarah obviously has no trouble in hearing the sweet sound of the bells, as well as Billy, who follows close after. Tommy, on the other hand, can't hear a thing. Sarah's strength in her belief of Christmas is shown from the sequence to when she first hears the bells to when she says, absolutely. It's actually quite interesting because shortly after she first hears the bells, as she's leading the group, she stops in her tracks, almost as if she can't hear them anymore. But she keeps pushing, and when they get to a point where they stop to catch their breath, Sarah says that the bells are coming from a specific direction. Of course, Tommy, who is now skeptical of the believer, asks her if she is sure, and Sarah responds with,
Absolutely.
and for a split second, we can hear what Sarah is hearing. It doesn't last long though, so it's not surprising that it gets overlooked. By the end of the film, after all 3 kids, well, technically 4 kids, have made it back safely, the elves prepare for Santa to do his walkout. As they're setting up the sleigh, getting the reindeer into formation, and the sleigh bells hooked on, Tommy still can't hear the jingle. And it's apparent that even after everything he's been through, he still doesn't believe. And when the movie reaches its climax, Santa does his walkout, and Tommy can't see him. But I theorize that even if he was able to see him, he still would have been skeptical. Then one of the bells falls from the sleigh, and in an act of desperation, Tommy grabs the bell and tells himself that he does believe, repeatedly, until he finally hears the sound that Sarah and Billy could hear. It is then that Tommy truly believes in the magic and spirit of Christmas. And when he glances back at the bell, he can see Santa's reflection. And it is then, and only then, can he see. Because seeing could not come before believing. Santa himself says that him and the bell symbolize the spirit of Christmas. So, to summarize, the spirit of Christmas needs to be believed before you can see it. Because the true spirit of Christmas lies within our hearts. Here's a question that I want to answer. Well, two questions. The first one is, was this story all a dream? Yes, it was.
It was all a dream.
But it doesn't matter if it was or not. Because that's not the point. Although there are some theories that could be made on if it was or wasn't. I mean, Tommy ripping a hole in his pocket again, to the overall craziness of the movie in general. But then if it was all a dream, how did he get the bell back from Santa Claus? Makes you think. The next question is Santa actually real? And my answer to that is yes. Maybe not in the form of a jolly fat man, but yes. For many years, my parents were Santa, and now I can be a Santa for them. Santa, as a physical being who goes house to house with the magical flying reindeer, is not real. But Santa, as an idea, is. You can be a Santa for someone during the holidays. Maybe you can't offer a present or money, but maybe you can bake cookies for them, or even shovel someone's driveway. So be a Santa for someone during the holidays. Polar Express was one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid. And I'm pretty sure, well, 99% sure that this movie was made for teachers to play to kids leading up to Christmas break. Polar Express's iconic music and animation is so nostalgic. The way that this movie still holds up to this day is a Christmas miracle in itself. But that's all I have for you for today. Remember to follow God, and if you're able to spend time with your family and friends during the holidays, do it. Spread some love this holiday season. And without further ado, Merry Christmas, nerds.